So, hi, Andy. I'm excited by your pictures, and I'm glad you enjoyed this assignment. I can tell from the work that you enjoyed it. So, I am someone who has actually made my career from photographing kids, and so I am at once really excited and also really critical of pictures of children. And I definitely think that you have um, have the potential, and in some of these pictures it comes through, of making pictures that go way beyond the kind of cliche, cute pictures of kids. Some of the pictures are more or less more that way. I think it's super, super hard to do that. I'd say probably about 95% of the pictures that I've made, and I made them mainly of my children and their friends and my nephews and my stepkids, and I would say 95% of the pictures that I took thinking they were art turned out to just not make it. But, and then there's complicated reasons, and I won't go too much into them at this point, but I want to talk about what I see happening in your pictures. First of all, technically, I think they're great. They're sharp, they're clear, they're well lit. Yeah, so technically, I mean, this one's slightly red and slightly soft. And this one is probably my least favorite of all the pictures, I think partly because she's definitely like grimacing for the camera. And I feel like in some ways it's just less, it has less boom. And the focus I can see is her hand and the teddy bear. So one thing I can think is if you're using a camera that has an autofocus, you might want to think about using a little bit more manual controls and getting a little bit more depth of field in your pictures, because I think you've definitely got an eye and you make your pictures sharp, but I think now taking a little bit more control about where the sharpness is will strengthen it, because I think it's the center focus. But this one, the food on this child's face, and then the way the skin folds down there, that's really nice. And something about the expressions and the clarity and your way of having their face illuminated is great. Okay, so let's talk individually about what it is and isn't working. This one, I wish his head wasn't cropped right there. I feel like the picture has like a lot of wasted space up in here. The upper left, almost the upper left half, not quite third, upper left corner. But in some ways, this is my favorite picture. I like his wet hands. I like the gesture of leaning out. I think the colors are working nicely. So I would encourage you to go along this line more. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the top. And this one too, I love this one. I think it's verging on the cute, and it's interesting with this like kind of almost fisheye lens that you're having here, but his finger and pointing the stick at us. I think this one is a strong one. I think there's this sense of childhood, this sense of kind of like play and challenging the camera. So that's a really nice shot. And this one is too. I think this picture is maybe my favorite of this child. I'm slightly distracted by this like big couch in the background. I don't think you should crop it. I like the feeling. It feels like a kid's house. You've got the cartoon and some kind of like tent-like toy in the back. And again, I talked about this one already. I don't think it's as effective. This one, actually, I take it back. Maybe this one works better than the other one because of the composition, because the child is occupying almost the whole space. Yeah, I take that back. I think it's just something, the expression is different from here. Oh no. I hate this, my computer. I'm going to get back to your pictures. We're back there. And they have to load again. Okay, just bear with me for a second while we wait for your pictures to load. Oh my gosh. Now you're getting like the real life Betsy Schneider teaching experience. and I'm getting messages. All right. Okay, so we're back. Sorry about that. Little pause. Yeah, so, and I was flipping between that. Yeah, I would say this one, yeah, I think it's stronger. I think compositionally it works really, really well. And the way we're drawn into the expression, that one's nice. And this one's like cute and well lit, but it doesn't have the same, and his expression's pretty stunning. I'm finding that I'm a little distracted by all this stuff going on the side. And maybe if the angle was just a little bit different, that would be better. And again, that I was saying about the TV and the composition, this one doesn't work as well, but I do think it incorporates the TV in the room better than the other one. So each one of those 3 pictures has something that's kind of working. As a series, they become kind of repetitive, and that's one of the things that's hard about photography is you like, you know, that expression like murder your darlings. So it may be a little bit problematic to say it when you're photographing children. But this idea about editing and having to, like, how precious your pictures are and not wanting to give them up. And I feel like I can see why all 3 were important to you, but having to choose or having to shoot enough so that there becomes one that clearly does everything. But as you mentioned, it's hard because kids move around a lot. And anyway, just to think about that. And yeah, in some ways, this one's less effective to me. For me, I'm a little bit more distracted by the lighting. But I also think there's like an energy, and his expression is really lovely. And then this, so I'm guessing that you used a flash here out in the pool, this kind of excitement. I think it's interesting to consider how it becomes different when you're using a flash, when you're using this kind of lighting. Anyway, sorry about my text messages. And then this one again, I just think there's something really striking about that one. And then this one I'm less interested in. There is something about her expression that's kind of devastating, which is not a problem as far as I'm concerned. I like that. But I'm finding myself, I don't know if it's lighting or what, I'm not as drawn to this one, maybe a little bit of the composition. So one thing I can see for you to kind of think about is the illumination. So first, this picture, think about what this picture is doing and how it's doing differently, and think about that at kind of an action shot where they're not necessarily looking at the camera. That's an interesting thing for you to think about, and I think you could work on that. Think about what it means when you use like bright flash outside. That creates another different kind of experience. And think about expression, but also about other things that are maybe distracting in the background. And again, making choices, lighting, moving the camera around a little bit more. Why compositionally I might find this one to be like the strongest picture. And then again, focus, thinking about you taking a little bit more control of the focus. Yeah, so really nice job. I think it's a really great place to start from. So I hope I see more of your portraits.